Hey, Grats and Gits. So this one's a little bit of a going to be a quickish kind of video, but we just got brand new explosive news. So the World Championships of Warhammer is just in 2 freaking weeks. I can't wait to get over there and do some crumping. I'm pretty pumped up for it. We do have the finalized rule pack, so I'm going to catch you up with the very exclusive things. This is breaking news that the people behind the World Championships of Warhammer are suggesting needs to be in the game. So these are rules changes. This does not apply to the game as a whole. This only applies, this is basically a tournament FAQ specifically for the World Championships of Warhammer. Now, some of the things that are included here will make their way into the game in a future balance patch, I'm sure. Some of them will not. This is very similar to last year's World Championships of Warhammer, WCW. But if you notice from the roll pack last year, like half of the things did not make it into the official game, and half of them did. So don't expect all of this to end up. But just so you can see, here's the preview, and I'm gonna run it all down right now. So core rules: can I make a reactive move? Move other form of repositioning triggered by an event, such as an enemy unit ending a move within a certain distance, i.e. Miscedaimos, when an enemy unit disembarks from a transport that has already moved. The answer is no. As the disembarking unit has not made a normal move, it only counts as having made a move. So basically what this means is if I move a Land Raider and I move it 9.1 inches away from a unit of Grey Knights, and then I disembark from the Land Raider, the Grey Knights cannot use Miscedaimos to disappear because the disembark actually doesn't count, is not a normal move. It just counts as a normal move. It can be a little confusing. And they actually do the next question to clarify what they really mean by this. It says, after my units disembark from a transport that has not yet moved this phase, my unit must make a normal or an advanced move. When it ends that move, can an enemy unit make a reactive move? Yes. So basically what they're saying is that if I have a Land Raider and it is 9.1 inches away from the Great Knights and I disembark before the Land Raider moves, they do get to disappear and use Miscedaimos, or you could use a reactive move stratagem, for example. And the reason for that is because you are making a normal move when you come out before the transport has moved. But if you come out after the transport has moved, it does not count as it counts as a normal move, but it's not actually a normal move. It's a little bit confusing, but just think of it this way. If you get out after the transport moves, no reactive strats. If you get out before the transport disembarks, yes, strats. All right. Then question, when making a consolidation move towards an objective marker, can my model move in any direction as long as it ends closer to that objective marker and remains within range of it? The answer is yes. Note, however, that if the model cannot end that move any closer to the objective marker because you're already on it, you cannot move because you're already on it. So they have clarified, at least for this tournament, this is one I expect to see in the full pack. I would believe that this would make its way into the full game. That for consolidation specifically, you can't consolidate any closer to the 40mm objective disc if you're already touching it, which seems reasonable, and I think that's something that we'll probably see expanded to the whole game. There's 2 more for the core rules. If I set up a transport using the rapid ingress stratagem, can units embarked within the transport disembark that phase? No. This is already very clear that you can't do that, but I guess they just had enough questions where they felt they needed to clarify. And then lastly, can I use a stratagem that worsens the armor penetration characteristic of enemy attacks, i.e. armor of contempt, shield of aversion, reinforced hive node, all those things, when an enemy unit fights on death? And the answer is no. And the reason for this is because if a unit is fighting on death, they fight model by model. They don't actually, the unit itself doesn't get selected to fight. And most of those strats require a enemy unit to select you as the target. And so when you're fighting on death, there's no unit that's selecting you. It's just models that are fighting on death. All right, this is the specific FAQ for the Pariah Nixus mission deck. When scoring the Overwhelming Force secondary mission, how do I calculate the VP I gain for destroying 1 or more units within an attached unit? The answer to this is going to be if the attached unit started the turn within range of an objective marker, you score VP for each unit within the unit that was destroyed. For example, if you destroyed both the leader and bodyguard units in the attached unit, you will gain 5. So basically, if it's an attached unit and you destroy them, you get all 5 points. All right. Next question, if a unit that is part of an attached unit is destroyed and that attached unit was performing an action, can the remaining unit in the attached unit still complete the action? So if you have a captain who's leading a unit of assault intercessors and they're doing a cleanse action and let's say a recover assets action, and the assault intercessors are killed, but the captain lives. Do you succeed? So do you still successfully score the recover assets? The answer is yes, you do, which is good. I mean, that seems pretty clear as well, but it's just good that they clarified. Looks like just a few more here. When using the Smoke and Mirrors mission rule, if I select a transport with one or more units embarked within it, do I use the combined points total of the transport and the unit embarked for the 25% strategic reserves limit? And the answer is yes, which is, once again, very, very obvious and should just be the way it is. If my unit starts an action in my turn that completes at the end of my opponent's next turn, can I target that unit with the Fire Overwatch stratagem in my opponent's turn without the action failing? Yes. The reason for that is very simple. There's only a restriction on moving, not on shooting. The last of the Pariah Nexus FAQ is, can a unit from my army start to perform the terraform action on the same objective marker an enemy unit is currently performing the action on, but has yet to complete? And the answer is no, which is very reasonable. All right, there's just a little bit left. This is the faction-specific rules for the FAQ, and this is where the good stuff really hits. So, number one, for the Astra Militarum, Chaos Space Marines, Thousand Suns, etc. Question: after an enemy unit ends a charge move, does the Siege Shield ability, so for like Vindicators, Chaos Vindicators, Thousand Sun Vindicators, or Linebreaker ability for the Leman Rust Demolishers, this is what allows them to shoot their blast weapons in a melee. Does that ability allow my model to shoot at that enemy unit that is now within engagement range of it using the Fire Overwatch stratagem? And the answer is, of course, no. It does not. All right, now for the Astra Militarum specifically, this is massive. This is actually very game-changing. It doesn't quite fix Aquilins, but it does make Aquilins much more reasonable and not quite as busted as they were. So this is a great change for GW to pop in here. It's going to give us the ability to actually counter the Aquilins. The big difference is precision drop, which is the thing that allows them to do the 3-inch deep strike, only works in the in your movement phase. Why this is so critical is it will not work with rapid ingress anymore. So you can no longer rapid ingress 3 inches away to block movement or block a charge. This only works in your movement phase. So the 3-inch deep strike now will only work in your movement phase for the Aquilins. Thank goodness. Good job on you, James Workshop. Proud of you. Then the second part of this is question: if a Tempestus Aquilins unit from my army uses its Servo Sentry ability, can I target that unit with the grenade stratagem in the same turn? And the answer is no. This is also like an obvious one, but people were 100% playing it wrong. So what the Servo Sentry ability does is when the Aquilins drop down, they get to shoot their turret at an enemy unit just when they drop down. Well, the grenade stratagem very specifically says if your unit has shot this turn, not phase, that's the key, turn, you are no longer eligible to utilize the grenade stratagem. So this does count as a shot. Meaning, no, you cannot drop down, shoot your turbo, and then in your turn, grenade, and then shoot. All right, perfect. Black Templars. If I target a unit with the Fervent Acclamation stratagem, and a model in the unit is the bearer of an enhancement from the Righteous Crusaders detachment for the purposes of that enhancement, is the Templar Vow I selected when using the stratagem active in the same way as the Templar Vow is active for my army? Yes. And now this is actually really important because now what you could do is you could say, take Tannhauser's Bones on a unit, and if you are in the for the Honor the Chapter vow, then you would get a 5 Feel No Pain. But if you're any of the other vows, that enhancement effectively does nothing. However, if you spend the 1 CP stratagem to put them inside that vow, they will now get the 5 Feel No Pain, which is a really, really big deal. So you can use some of your enhancements in different vows, which is actually quite good, and it's a huge buff. Blood Angels. They made a quick ruling change to the Death Company Dreadnought. It still sucks, but it is slightly better now. When doing this, when they do their Blood Surge move, they can end within engagement range of the enemy unit. So that is nice. That's better. It's still really bad, but it's definitely better. Chaos Knights. Can I use the Knights of Shade stratagem after rolling the charge roll for a unit targeted with that stratagem? The answer has always been and still is yes. The reason why this is really important is because your Chaos Knight players, they get to see if they roll high enough to make it worth using that stratagem before they actually declare that stratagem. All right, then Dark Angels. This is for Deathwing Terminator squads and Deathwing Knights. Watcher in the Dark Warrior ability. The Watcher in the Dark will be, the wording is changed to just after a mortal wound is allocated to an Adeptus Astartes model in this unit. So basically what this means is they get a 4 Feel No Pain against mortal wounds once per game. But now they get to wait and see how many mortal wounds are allocated. So if I throw grenades at you and I only cause 1 mortal wounds, it might not be worth it for me to activate my once per game 4 Feel No Pain. But if you say cause all 6 mortal wounds, I might want to use the Feel No Pain. So this is actually a really good little change that absolutely helps the Dark Angels out quite a bit. As the controller's playing turn, can I choose when to activate Lionel Johnson's once per turn all secrets revealed ability? The answer is yes. Also nice. Talking about the Death Guard, this is the same change that we actually just got. I'm not sure why they repeated this one. It says, if I have an objective marker, what happens if my opponent gains control of the objective marker and then loses it? The objective marker is still infected, but does not come under your control again. That's pretty much it. It just stays infected, but you don't get to activate the Nurgle's gift ability until you retake it. So that was already printed in the most recent MFM. Gene Stealer Colts, when setting up a unit using Cold Ambush Army rule. All this is saying is that if you are being set up using Cold Ambush, you do still have to respect the 12-inch bubble of units that have a 12-inch Deep Strike denial. Grey Knights. As the controlling player, can I choose when to activate Caldro Dragos once per battle, one with a warp ability? The answer is yes. Makes sense. Okay, now Space Marines. This is actually a huge change. So this is actually a very, very dramatic departure from actually a very recent ruling. So this is a little confusing to me. When you're using Gladius Task Force Detachment, does a combat doctrine need to be active for my army in order to use the adaptive strategy stratagem? And the answer is no. That's a huge difference, and it's a huge buff to Gladius. So this is going to make some people definitely reconsider whether or not they're bringing Gladius to the World Championships. And then lastly, this one's been reprinted a bunch of times. I don't really know why. But if a Hellblaster is destroyed by anything other than an attack or hazardous test, can the model use its For the Chapter ability? And the answer is no. So you can't use For the Chapter against like grenades, for example, which is, that's very reasonable. Okay, guys, so that is the actual finalized rules updates that we're going to see at the World Championships of Warhammer. There are a few other things that is going to be in like the event pack. I think I'll do a different video for that. It's just going over like the rounds that you're going to see. It's going to go over the shadow round. It's going to go over like clock usage. I'll do that in another video. I just wanted to get you guys this out as quickly as I possibly could, simply because this is pretty breaking news and it's exciting stuff. So with that, I'm going to leave you for tonight. I appreciate all of you, and I hope you have an amazing evening. Happy cropping out.